I call the City Council meeting for Wednesday, June 28th, 2023 to order. Thank you for coming. This time we'll have a moment of silence to think about whatever it is you are interested in. Thank you. If everyone please stand and join Alderman Jobson in leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Alderman Jobson. Mr. Krupp, if you please call the roll.
Dunn.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
McGinnis.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Grip.
Here.
Condon. Cornett.
Here.
Dickman. Jobson.
Here.
And Ortez.
Here.
9 present, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. So again, good evening, everyone. As we begin the meeting of the City Council, again, I'd like to welcome everybody in attendance and anybody who's watching through any particular electronic device. We respectfully welcome your comments and opinions, but please keep in mind that as you share thoughts, you're sharing them with your fellow Davenporters, anybody throughout the region. Please remember the meetings are recorded and available for viewing later. We're happy you're participating in your city government and ask that your participation please reflect the common desire we all share to make Davenport a better place. Especially again for the folks in here, if you put your cell phone please on silent or turn it off, simply it doesn't get in the way of people talking. If you want to address the council on any specific item, please come to the podium. The microphone's above you. We'd love to know your name, ward, or address, and if you're not from here, we'd love to know where you're from. Please keep your remarks to 3 minutes. I know everybody will observe the common accepted rules of dignity, decorum, and good taste. We'll be respectful of you. Please be respectful of us. Please address the council as a body and not as any individual or name. Thank you. Will an alderman please move approval of the City Council minutes for June 14th, 2023? Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Ms. Spiegel, any update for tonight?
Just a quick reminder, and I'm sure Alderman McGinnis might go into more detail, but Red, White, and Boom will be held on our riverfront Monday evening starting at 5, and then city offices will be closed Tuesday in observation of the holiday.
Thank you. Okay, will an alderman move approval of the report of the Committee of the Whole for June 21st, 2023? Move the report. Second. Okay, motion second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Very good. We have 2 appointments and 1 proclamation. The 2 appointments are Ashel Sharif, the 2nd Ward, is a new appointment, and Andrew Dasso, at-large, new appointment. I'll accept a motion to approve. So moved. Second. Motion is second to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Thank you for serving. We continue to look for folks that want to serve on our board as a commission, so we appreciate these 2 folks. Proclamation, Red, White, and Boom Military and Arsenal Appreciation Day, July 3rd, I'll read. City of Davenport Proclamation, whereas the cities of Rock Island and Davenport have been cooperative neighbors since the founding of each community in 1835 and 1836, respectively, and whereas there exists a long history of collaboration dating back to the 1850s when the 2 communities were connected by the first railroad bridge across the Mississippi, and whereas Red, White, and Boom is celebrating its 19th anniversary of cooperation between these 2 communities, and whereas River Vision is a cooperative plan for the redevelopment of the riverfront between the 2 cities, and whereas the execution of said plan has brought continuous improvements and enhanced the quality of life along both riverfronts, and whereas we honor the birth of our nation, those who gave all for our great country, and those who serve today to protect our shores, and whereas Arsenal Island and the military commands located there have been a significant part of the history of both communities, and whereas our communities commemorate the Rock Island Arsenal and the Arsenal is important to our region and nation, now therefore we, Mike Matson, Mayor, and the Davenport City Council do hereby proclaim July 3rd, 2023 as Red, White, and Boom Military and Arsenal Appreciation Day, and congratulate the cities of Davenport and Rock Island for their improvements to the riverfront, but also to the Rock Island Arsenal on all of its past achievements and innovations and future successes. I'll accept a motion to approve. Motion and second to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And thank you. I'll meet Bill Churchill at the podium to accept. Riverfront Improvement Commission, thank you very much for your service and so on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I need to say a few words.
Well, I'm very honored and humbled to represent such a distinguished group of veterans, those that have served in the past as a Vietnam veteran myself, and the people that are serving right now. This is a wonderful thing that the city of Davenport is doing, and we appreciate that very much. I look forward to celebrating another wonderful red, white, and boom, and I'm sure we'll all be there and make it a great, great day for the city of Davenport and Rock Island. So thank you very much. We appreciate this.
Okay, next is petitions and communications. Anyone? Alderman Jobson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully not stealing Alderwoman McGinnis's thunder here, but with the 4th of July coming up, I want to remind people that there are times for legal discharge of fireworks on the 3rd and 4th. So I just ask everybody within the city of Davenport to be good, considerate neighbors. Make sure that you're adhering to those times. Also, afterwards, please make sure you're picking up your litter. Don't leave it around to kind of break down neighborhoods and those types of things. And then lastly, with that, I know we've gotten a little rain over the past couple days, but it still dry as a bone out there. So be safe and don't have Fire Marshal Morris back there having to do a little extra work because of people not doing things the way they should. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Jobson. Alderwoman McGinnis.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just do want to remind everybody about Red, White, and Boom. This is a Quad City celebration. There are 3 main viewing areas, which is LeClaire Park and Modern Woodman Park, and then Schwiebert Riverfront Park in Rock Island. So it's going to be another great event. You can tune in. It starts at 9:30. Then there's lots of events happening before. You can tune in to 97X, and there's a soundtrack that follows the fireworks. So some great viewing places all across the cities, but something that we can enjoy again this year. I also wanted to recognize an event that took place on Monday night in the Central Community Circle, which is a little area, a small neighborhood that is just east of Marquette and Vine, around the 5th and 6th Streets. It's a neighborhood that certainly has had a lot of challenges, but has wonderful neighbors. On Monday night, they have a wonderful little park there at 510 Warren. It's a neighborhood park, and there were 4 women leaders who were recognized, long-term people, women who live there or who have lived there. Many have passed. Lupe Serrano, who was one of the neighbors, told me, she passed a couple of years ago, that she was one of the first Hispanic families in the neighborhood, and was welcomed and made her home there and raised her children there. So the women who were recognized, and there was a very strong humility of Mary, has probably a great role in that neighborhood in working with the neighborhood, and has done that and has lived in the neighborhood, members of that community for years. So the women honored were Lupe Serrano, Janet Reyes, Florence Below, and Sister Marilyn Shrebrock. And if you want to go and spend a moment in their garden, there are benches there. It's a beautiful garden. It's a community garden. And just to remember this really great neighborhood that works very hard to make it welcoming for everyone. So I really enjoyed that on Monday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman McGinnis. Alderwoman Lee.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I saw a wonderful vet sign, veterinarian, that said, "I love fireworks, said no pet ever." So I'd just like to reinforce what Alderman Jobson said. It's only between 5 and 10 o'clock on the 3rd and the 4th. And I think there'd be a lot of people who would be happy if everyone stops at 10 o'clock for that. I'd also like to remind people that we're in a very high air quality problem area. There's no place in the country that's the extreme, but we are right up against that here in the Quad Cities area. I looked at a map today. So please be careful. It's driving my sinuses crazy. So yeah, please be careful with that. Don't be outside or running or something if you don't have to be until it clears up. And that's from the climate crisis and the fires up in Canada. And the third one is I don't know if you know, but we had a train derailment last night over at Nahant. 21 cars derailed, and CP said they worked through the night to try to get it up. They haven't completely gotten them up yet. I don't know, but Nahant wasn't advised. It was right at their land, Nahant Marsh. It was right at their land, and some of the cars had asphalt. As far as we know, there's been no spills, but Nahant is doing some testing of the water. And I know the fire department's been down there. And I guess I have a question. Was anyone in the city notified by CP that this derailment occurred sometime during the night last night? Because it wasn't found until Nahant found it during the day, today. Was anyone?
You want me, go ahead.
We'll look into that.
And you'll let me know? You'll let us know?
Well, I'll let you know. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please. So I'll just say on behalf of me, I was notified immediately, and I was in contact with CP, the fire department, and everybody, and the hazmat team was there. Anything else, Alderwoman Lee?
No, thank you.
Yeah, Alderman Dunn.
I just want to say, as the alderman of that ward, I was notified. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move to individual items on the discussion agenda. The first item is a third consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 2.34 entitled Department of Public Works and Section 2.30 entitled City Administrator, additional duties of the Municipal Code of Davenport, Iowa to state again the existing ability to align operational areas with the organizational resources and needs. Is there any public comment?
Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Sidron. I live at 1502 Clay Street. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, but the city administrator has failed to take responsibility for this fiasco, nor has the city, to my knowledge, given her any responsibility and made her take responsibility. I understand.
Personal attacks, please.
I understand.
Thank you.
But this is a position that the citizens of Davenport, she has enough plates in the air right now. She doesn't need more responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Will an alderman please move consideration of the ordinance? Motion and a second. Any Ms. Lee? Yes, I know how to run a meeting. Any discussion from the alderman? Okay. Please, folks. Please, folks. Alderwoman Lee.
I apologize. It was my mistake. When I saw in the wording to state again the existing ability to align operational areas with organizational resources and needs, I finally took the time, and I apologize for not doing it earlier, to go back to the two city ordinances that are referred here and compare it to what we had at 2.30.060 under city administrator. And I don't really see why we have a need for doing this, because it's just restating what we already have. So I'm going to vote no on this because I don't see the need to glom up the code if we don't need to. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Brian, please call the roll on third consideration.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Cornett. No. Cortez,
Yes.
Jobson,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Lee,
No.
Condon. Yes. And Grip.
Yes.
Looks like 7 yeses and 2 noes, Your Honor.
Very good. The ordinance is adopted. The next issue is number 2, resolution amending the FY 2023 operating budget. Is there any public with comment?
Yes, I would. My name is David Ezra Sidron. I've been a resident of the 3rd Ward for 30-plus years. We are now in fiscal 2024, and we are now going back in time to fiscal 2023 to change a budget, to come up with money, millions of dollars, to fund the contracts that you didn't want us to see that we now see. I would like to talk about the first contract, which is with a company called White Birch Group. There is no company called White Birch Group. There is no group of White Birch Group. White Birch Group consists of one man who lives in an apartment in Chicago. He's a wonderful guy. He's got a master's degree in architectural science, and he works part-time for the Northbrook Fire Department. I would like you to examine the stationery of the contract that was signed by the city administrator. There is no address, there's nothing. All that there is.
Mr. Ezra, let's stay to the point of the item, the operating budget.
Right, is the White Birch Group LLC.com. That's the only thing on the stationery. Nobody in the city did the due diligence to go to this URL.
This is not the item. Okay?
Yes, it is. This has to do with
Mr. Warner.
you changing the budget for the money to pay this guy who is totally, you did no due diligence. Go to this website. It's a $29.95 GoDaddy website that's not even filled in. Let me show you what he says. What services is
it's
the
not
White
germane.
You'll get your time.
Your Honor, it is not germane to the topic.
That's what I said. So please stay with the operating budget.
Okay, you're going to spend $2 million for a guy that's unqualified.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, will an alderman move the resolution? Second. Motion second. Any discussion? Alderwoman Lee?
The amendment of the budget is based on the operating emergency per City Code 2.12.1.140, Parts B, and its relevant C and D, which says, and all of this is covered under this amendment, because I talked to the the CFO. The finance director may purchase or authorize for purchase a service and other things that could not be reasonably foreseen or anticipated if the amount is not in excess of $100,000 without advertisement. However, and I quote from the code here, a full written account with requisition for the service shall be open for public inspection for at least 1 year after the date of the emergency purchases. Any single expenditure of $100,000 or more shall be submitted to City Council for ratification, which is allowed to be after the fact under Part D. So it's not given to us for approval, it's for ratification. So I've got a couple of questions on the emergency, the operating emergency under which these contracts were let and that will be covered by this budget amendment. So how is the city defining operating emergency? And now that the building is demolished and almost entirely deposited in a landfill, at what point, using what factors, are these actions and services related to the building collapse no longer going to be considered operating emergencies subject to the $100,000 limit with just ratification and not the $50,000 for City Council approval? And with the building demolished and the safety concern done, would all further purchases and billing now be subject to the $50,000 limit as it relates to City Council approval?
So whoever would like to take, there's a couple questions in there, so.
Yeah.
First off, Your Honor, I think we covered operating emergencies at the last meeting, and we talked about what they were, why we were doing it, gave some examples of them. Certainly a building collapse in the downtown would be an unanticipated emergency situation, causing an operating emergency. We had to act right away. And as far as when does the emergency end, the emergency will end when we get the site in the condition that we contracted to get it into. As far as items running through the normal course, you will already see some items that will be running through the normal course next cycle.
Okay, so that was my question. At what point does it end? I wasn't arguing about making them in the first place. That wasn't my point. So, so the other question I had was the full written account with requisitions for services that's in the code. So all we got was the table that was the background. And I do understand, you know, watching the news, that there was an $18,000 bill from an unnamed firm for crisis communication and reputation management, landfill tipping fees, Shive Hattery, $250,000 for recovery and demolition, and that was reported yesterday. So I'm just wondering why we haven't also been provided those requisitions.
I can't go back right now and audit it. I'm sure a lot of this information has already been provided to you. As far as the $18,000 item, as you're aware, purchases between $10,000 and $50,000 during the normal course of the city's business are only reported as information-only items.
Okay, that explains that. You're right, I understand the 18,000. I just hadn't heard about it. And then I'm not going to go into the other questions that I provided to you about the contracts because I understand our job is just for ratification and we don't have the approval authority under the operating emergency per city code. But I did review those contracts with some detail, all three of them, the White Birch Group, the, what was the other one, the SIE, as well as Zinser, and I was surprised at some of the contracting clauses or lack of clauses that were approved by the city manager. They're things, okay, but that's who signed them.
So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we can get her answers.
Yeah,
Because she
I-
provided them in writing just
I
a
did.
couple hours ago.
Yeah,
Because I
So
just
if you-
got the contracts.
So I get that.
Yeah.
So we'll get her those answers. But please,
thank you.
And it would-
I was going to say, we're getting into the germaneness problem again. The budget amendment is to provide capacity and legal spending authority for this. It's not about any specific item that went through. I will say, as far as these contracts are concerned, particularly the demolition Phase 1 and Phase 2 contracts, I worked closely with the city engineer who worked closely with the demolition contractor. We fully understand the scope of these services. And I told the city administrator that it was okay to sign them. So to say that she made that choice would be incorrect.
okay, thank you. Others, anything else, Alderwoman Lee?
Nope, I'm good.
I
Thank you.
appreciate, all right, thank you. Alderman Dunn, do you have a comment? You're light. Okay, all right. Anyone else? Okay, Brian, please call the roll.
Cornett. Ortez.
Yes.
Grip.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
Jobson.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
And Lee.
Yes.
9 yeses, Your Honor.
Very good, the resolution is adopted. The next item is number 3 is a motion approving the appeal to overturn the Historic Preservation Commission's decision to deny case COA 23-18, a request to install vinyl windows at the J. Monroe Parker Figge House located at 1208 Main Street, a locally designated historic landmark within the College Square Historic District, on behalf of Delt 100 alumni. Just so the council knows, a yes vote overturns Historic Preservation Commission decision. A no vote upholds their decision. Is there any public with comment?
Hello, I'm Sarah Oberg Ramirez with Lane and Waterman, appearing on behalf of the homeowners. I'd like to just quickly address some of the council's reservations from last week's meeting, or the meeting 2 weeks ago, rather. First, Alderwoman McGinnis stated that economic hardship isn't a factor that this council should consider in deciding whether to overturn the commission's denial. I respectfully disagree with Alderwoman McGinnis on this point. One of the 2 factors this council must consider is whether the commission followed Davenport City Ordinance in coming to its decision. And Davenport City Ordinance mandates that the commission must take economic feasibility into full consideration. Because of that, whether the commission adequately considered economic feasibility and how economic feasibility impacts the reasonableness of the project are both critical questions for this council to consider. Second, Development and Neighborhood Services said they didn't have enough pertinent information to approve the homeowners project. I would just like to clarify the record here a bit. To be clear, the homeowners did submit a window survey. The homeowners hired contractor Casey Haas, who prepared a schedule containing a list of each window in the home, the window's dimensions, and their locations. Mr. Haas then took photos of the home's exterior with each window labeled in coordination with the schedule. Now, staff feels the photos were taken from too far away, so there is disagreement as to the survey, but the homeowners did make a good faith effort to respond to all of staff's information requests. The homeowners declined to provide closer range photos because they hired a professional contractor, Mr. Haas, who has repeatedly opined that the extent of the window's deterioration disqualifies restoration as a viable option. Even if restoration were a viable option, we again encounter the issue of economic feasibility of restoration. Now, there was some feedback last week that the homeowners bear responsibility for upholding the home's historical significance and that they need to come to the table as good community partners. Respectfully, Council, the homeowners have come to the table. They have a history of compliance with the Historic Preservation Commission's process. In 2021, the Commission granted 2 applications from these homeowners, and this year, very recently, the Commission granted another application for roof replacement. The homeowners have submitted applications, they have provided supporting documentation, and they've retained people like myself and Mr. Haas to assist with staff questions wherever needed and to be present at these meetings to discuss the project with you. Now, yes, they have disagreed with staff on occasion, and yes, they do disagree with the Commission's determination in this case. But that doesn't mean they haven't come to the table as good community partners. So with that said, the homeowners ask this council to vote yes to their appeal to overturn the Commission's denial tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I am Bob McGivern. I'm a resident of Davenport and a member of the 7th Ward. I am also the chair of Historic Preservation. And I believe this is the first time in 8 years Historic Preservation has been before the council on a rejection of an application. As long as I've been involved with Historic Preservation, our philosophy was going to be, this is not your mom and dad's Historic Preservation Commission. We are going to be advocates for the homeowner and the public to improve properties and neighborhoods with the processes that are at hand. When the application came forward, or when the homeowners came through about, I believe, almost a year and a half ago, indicating that they were going to start working on this historic property, this icon of Davenport, where we have so many prints of the photo and so many basements in Davenport. We wanted to make sure that every resource was available. And as the council from Land and Waterman had indicated, we've had several successful applications. We've worked with the ownership group, with the brick and mortar to make sure that the mortar analysis, they were very willing to have their subcontractors come down and work. When it came to the porch and the columns, we worked with the commission, or with the homeowners and the commission in work sessions to make sure that every resource was available to them so they could be successful and the right thing done. When it came to the windows, they decided that they didn't want to continue this type of cooperation. And I'm sorry for that. And I hope that with your no vote tonight, they'll come back to the commission and we will work together. And I want to let you know what we as your commission have done. When it came to the windows, we called Des Moines and asked SHPA to come down and educate not only the commission, but the public on windows and how they work with historic preservation. And I will tell you that many years ago, I was not a historic preservation person. I'm a convert, so to speak. When I was on the council, I could have cared less about vinyl windows or anything else. But then I saw outside investors come from Wisconsin and other parts of the country into our eastern part of downtown and utilize these tax credits to redevelop the downtown as we know it today. Properties and ownership groups that successfully embraced these tools of economic redevelopment have been successful, and so have their properties. What we are asking to do is to follow the process. These resources that historic preservation allow come from Des Moines and the federal government. I had a project that I got a little over my head on after I was done with city government, and we decided we had to do, it was my first historic preservation commission project. And I learned firsthand the true economic benefit. A little bit more time, a little bit more money, but the credits offset so much of that. So what I will share with you in my observations over time, is you could be pro-development and ask development to do the right thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. Seeing no one, will an alderman move the motion? Motion and second. Any discussion from alder folks? Alderwoman McGinnis.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple of things tonight. I'll try to be short. I do want to, again, thank the owners of the Parker Fickey House for their past care of this important historic property and the HBC for their ongoing service to the city and the historic properties under their purview. But tonight I wanted to make a couple of further points regarding the appeal. There has been an inference that the HPC did not consider hardship or financial feasibility or other options in its decision. And I want to point out some details here within the preservation ordinance. Economic hardship, which is defined specifically in the ordinance, is only a factor when an applicant requests to demolish a property. And in that scenario, only a certificate of economic hardship is what is granted, and that's the legal tool that allows them to proceed to demolition. So that term economic hardship is only when someone's coming and asking, can we demolish this project? Demolition was, of course, not sought in this instance. So economic hardship is not a factor that must be considered by the HPC for what the applicant sought, which was, and what the applicant was asking for was a certificate of appropriateness, or a COA, to replace wooden windows with vinyl. Now, the COA process does mention economic feasibility as a consideration, not economic hardship. And in this case, there was an option for the applicant to pursue other funding to help offset costs, and that would have been the historic tax credits that were mentioned. And the applicant was informed of this past. Now, it's up to the applicant to decide whether they choose to pursue any suggestions like that, and the city would never say you have to do this. But the choice not to pursue such alternatives does not require the HBC to consider more heavily economic feasibility. So again, just to remind our council that our decision tonight is based on two factors: whether the commission has exercised its powers and followed the guidelines established by law and ordinance, and whether the commission's actions were patently arbitrary and capricious. I believe the HBC and staff were both very helpful in this case. They spent a lot of time working with the applicant and following their ordinance guidelines as well, and their actions were not arbitrary and they were not capricious. So a vote no to the motion before us supports our HBC decision, and that was unanimous, and a vote yes overturns a unanimous decision of this group that works very hard for the city. I urge my fellow aldermen to support the HPC with a no vote tonight. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderwoman McGinnis. Alderwoman Lee.
Thank you. I drove past the building after the meeting last week, and it's quite a beautiful building. It's looking a little weary. There's air conditioners hanging out a bunch of the windows. I guess my question would be for the commissioner, since he's here, and I appreciate him coming to speak tonight. Could he come up to the? Yeah, would you please come up and let me just ask a quick question? You indicate that the question about the window, everything was cooperative except about the windows, and that surprised you with the owners. If indeed we support your decision, is there the opportunity for you and him to get back together and try to work more cooperatively?
So as the process unfolds, and what we would encourage is to have them obtain a little outside professional help and do a real window survey, not what they took some pictures and, numbered where the windows were. But the window survey identifies the problem, or if there's a problem, or to the degree of the problem. Historic preservation would rather some windows, if they can be restored. If they're gone through deterioration, then there may be other alternatives. But you have to define and understand the problem, which is the purpose of the true window survey. So it would be our hope that they would come back and find some outside expertise and do a true window survey. And from there, I think that will lead them on the path of what they're reluctant to do, and that's their own decision. But the historic tax credits are an immense opportunity to give this building another 30 to 50 years. I know that's what the outcome on my building on Central Park and Harrison. So I hope that answers your question.
Let me ask a question. Would it be helpful to table this for another cycle for you to try to work with him? Or
That's beyond my,
Yeah, that's not, you can ask your
Yeah.
colleagues if you want.
Yeah, I'm asking, to give them a chance to do the survey and, I'm sorry, thank you very much. To do the survey and work together?
So that's up to your colleague when they get the floor, if they want to respond to you. So it's your floor now, so you ask and then they'll go to others.
Let's do a vote on a table and that'll,
Your Honor,
Okay, so I understand. Yep. Ms. Lee, if you want to make a motion on something, that's your choice.
yeah.
But this right now is your choice to make your comments to your colleagues, and then they have their choice to make their
Okay,
comments.
let's throw that thought out there.
Your Honor.
Mr. Warner, do you have a comment?
yes, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. There are time deadlines by which the council has to act, and if you do not follow those time deadlines and you continue it without the permission of the applicant can win by just the passage of time. So I would caution you.
Thank you. Are you good, Ms. Lee? Okay. Alderman Grib?
Thank you, Your Honor. I did just want to speak briefly to the criteria that we're basing our decision on today, whether the commission's exercised its power by following the guidelines established by law and ordinance. I think that they have. I think they are acting within the powers that have been given to them by the city of Davenport, and then whether the commission's actions were patently arbitrary and capricious or random, impulsive, unpredictable, and I don't think they are. I think the HPC's been pretty consistent in the way they handle these things, and I think they are acting as they should. So the answer to those questions lead me to say that I'm going to vote no and uphold the HPC's decision. I do want to say, whether it's overturned or not, I hope that the Delt 100 alumni will continue to recognize the historic significance of that building and also view the city of Davenport as a partner and maintaining the integrity, the historical integrity and the integrity of that property. I'm happy to work with you to see that through and be a partner, although I did just hear the HPC offer the same thing, and they're much more qualified to do it than I am. But if you want an opportunity to see how we can work together to get this done, I'm happy to try to work with you on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Grib. Alderman Jobson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A quick question for our corporate counsel, Mr. Warner. What is that timeline? So how long before, if we take no action, that their appeal would be a winner?
I don't have the code in front of me, but I believe it's 60 days. So
Do we know where we are in this process?
no, that's why I'm cautioning you against that. And I think the critical point tonight is the standard of review as to whether it was arbitrary and capricious, the action of the commission.
Sounds good. Thank you. And, you know, my inclination is to vote no. We've taken the stance on a couple other items where an appeal has come to us, where we've said, hey, you know, maybe we can table it for a period of time. It doesn't sound like that's as viable as maybe some of those other situations. I'm not going to make that motion. I don't think I'll second it either. I would just rather vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Jobson. Anyone else? Okay, Brian, please call the roll for the motion. Again, just before you call the roll, reminding council, if you vote yes, it overturns the Historic Preservation Commission decision. A no vote upholds the Historic Preservation Commission decision. Brian?
Condon?
No.
Grip?
No.
Ortez?
No.
Dunn?
No.
Lee?
No?
Cornett?
No.
McGinnis?
No.
Jobson?
No.
And Kelly.
No.
So that is 9 noes, Your Honor.
Right, so the motion does not pass, okay? The next area, is there a motion for approval of all items on the consent? We'll take a motion in a second, and then I know an alderperson would like to bring one off for a comment. Okay, and I know Alderwoman Lee, you'd like to take one off to talk about and then put it back on, please.
Thank you. It's number 19. And I just have a question on that. In the public letters from Governor Reynolds to the Honorable Joe Biden, dated June 6th and June 20th. I just need to understand, and so this is a question for corporate counsel. I just need to understand what the phrase, it says the city of Davenport has exercised its dangerous building ordinance condemnation procedures. Then it says to take possession of the structure with the intention of demolition. Could you please define for me what take possession of the structure means legally in terms of our liability and our costs?
In this instance, it means get control of the site in order to tear it down. Our end game, if you will, even if we get aid from the federal government to do this, is always to go after the property owner.
That's what I was wondering. Thank you very much. I'm happy.
So back on. Okay, all right, so anyone else? Very good. Brian, please call the roll for all items on consent.
Kelly,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Grip,
Yes.
Condon,
Yes.
Ortez,
Yes.
Jobson,
Yes.
and Cornett. 9 yeses, Your Honor.
Very good. Consent's approved. Next areas are the ordinances, resolutions, and motions. There are none for tonight. The next area is there any public business. So again, folks, please come to the podium. 3 minutes. The next person, if there's someone else, please stand by one of the polls so I know you're next. We'd love to know your name, order, address. If you're not from here, where you're from. Thank you.
Ron Swainer, Davenport, Rock Island. I am thoroughly disgusted with this city and this council. 2 weeks in a row, our public comments have been cut off. Technical difficulties. That is totally unacceptable. You talk about a fair and transparent government. To not allow the people at home that view this and put it on a few days later in hopes they don't see it is utterly unacceptable. We spend our time down here talking to the council, viewing our concerns, our needs, our wants, and to be cut out like that? No, no. If that's the way this council and city is going to be, I think we need to clean house. I mean, that's wrong. You've cut our 5-minute time limit down to 3. Now you're cutting our comments, broadcasting the night of the city council meeting. 2 weeks in a row. Is this the third? I'll find out when I get home because the wife's watching. If it is, you know, who's responsible? It better not happen again because you know what? Citizens don't forget. You know, you talk about transparency, open government, wanting to hear, yet you won't let our voices be heard? No, no. That's totally unacceptable, and I'm ashamed that this is happening in our city, and I expect it not to happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is David Ezra Sidron. I've been a 3rd Ward resident for 30-plus years. May I talk about the lack of due diligence on these contracts now?
Sir, you have 3 minutes. You may, anything other than what was on the agenda, so
Okay.
please continue.
I urge everyone to go to White Birch Group LLC. This is the public corporation site. This is the public face of this company, which doesn't exist, which is one person. I would like to read the qualifications of the White Birch Group, which you've just given a contract to, from their own website. What services does White Birch Group offer? White Birch Group offers a wide range of lorem ipsum dolor sit amit consecutor adicipic illicit. No, I'm not speaking in tongues. This is Latin garbage. He didn't finish putting together his $29.95 website from GoDaddy. It is a total lack of professionalism. How could anybody give an open-ended contract to somebody whose public appearance, his public website is nothing but garbage? Now, because I'm running out of time, I'd like to talk about the other contract you gave, and this is to a legitimate company. This is Socotec Engineering. It's a very legitimate company. Unlike the White Birch Group, they've got real stationery, they've got a real address. The real address is 35 East Wacker Drive. It's a real building. I've been there. Now I'd like to turn your attention to this contract, which was signed by your city administrator. And it says, client, that's the city of Davenport, is aware that SEI, that's Socotec Engineering Incorporated, has not yet provided it with a proposal. You've signed a contract with a company with no proposal, and you've given them a blank check. They are going to bill you at $500 an hour from the moment they leave 35 East Wacker Drive and drive to Davenport. They're going to charge you $1,500 just to drive to Davenport. And it's an open-ended contract. I've done contracts with the government many times. I've done contracts with the Army, with the Department of Defense, with the Office of Naval Research, with DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects, that I was a principal investigator of. And never, ever have I ever seen a contract with any government agency that did not have a work order, did not have a proposal, that was open-ended and allowed them to bill any amount of money they wanted. How did you sign this? Lack of due diligence. It's a blank check. I am terribly sorry.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah.
My name is James Woods. I live in the 8th Ward. I sat in a 3rd Ward meeting 2 weeks ago. Not a council member, but a gentleman from our city told us that multi-unit complexes get inspected every 2 years and houses get inspected every 4. I was out that week. I gave a picture to 2 different aldermen. That building has not been inspected in 3 years. There's tarp holding crumbling brick. There's living squirrels in the tarp, and nothing. Nothing's been done. Are we waiting for this one to fall too? I'm just wondering, because 2 weeks, I showed them the pictures. They've seen them. The lies are ridiculous that come out of the city of Davenport. He said that single-family homes that are rentals are inspected every 4 years. I had a constituent sign my paper that his landlord sent him a text. I've personally seen the text. He gets a 10-year grace period on his rental property that's got 2 broken windows. The plumbing leaks into the basement. They've reported it numerous times. But because he's a county assessor, he gets by with it. The tone and the demeanor that our city staff say in conferences, inside this meeting, you guys already made us look like a laughing fool for the first week when the building come down. Any time we can stop would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Rosa, 8th Ward. I just have a couple questions that I'd like to ask. And Mayor, you have invited me to speak with you personally as well. But I want the public to know my concerns here. I want to talk about the floods of 2019, when there was a delay on adding the next layer of the wall, and the people down on River Drive lost their businesses. They were told they would be given a loan that a few didn't accept. Due to the debating of adding another layer to the wall, we did lose businesses here in Davenport. It was said that you weren't in the business of helping businesses, but now you're trying to assist businesses since we've had the collapse of the building over here, and we had over 3 deaths, but you didn't want to help those businesses affected by the floods unless they took a loan. But this disaster, you're handing them money. I want to talk about the fire marshal who you put in a position to sue the city by terminating her. She won a grievance, then you hired her back. She won $300,000 lawsuit, then left. You could have kept that money had a gay joke not been said by our city administrator to her. And I know you don't want me to say her name, but I'm gonna say what I want to say. I know, please, I'm talking, okay? We could have had that money to help the less fortunate people here in Scott County. But this is what you allow. You allow those type of comments to be made, and then you have to pay people all that money. And then during a disaster like this happen, you want to give them something and you don't. but we could have helped them there. Then I want to talk about Clay Merritt and Mallory Merritt, the nepotism. Well, you
I
ain't
will
gotta
not allow
allow
you to
me,
talk about-
okay? I said it, I'm gonna keep talking now, but it's out there in the air, okay? They're making $200,000 apiece from the city.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop you from talking if you keep saying names.
I'm not saying no name, I
You
said
just did.
they. I said they.
No
I
more.
said I gave it to the air, it's over. I'm continuing to talk, I'm not keep saying their name, I'm saying they. Now, if y'all wanna keep hiding this stuff, that's y'all. But everybody needs to know the corruption that's going on down here. So I'm gonna just say a husband and wife, and that's not saying their name, shouldn't have these positions reporting to each other. And the CFO is the wife. So I'm not saying her name, guys. And she rose up to your city administrator. Just want to let y'all know that this stuff is happening. We're giving these people a lot of money. $400,000 a year, that's what presidents make.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, just want y'all to know.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Jessica Knowles, second word. Hi, guys. Here, fourth week in a row. Any answers yet? Didn't think so. My concerns are that, A, I said something last week, hoping that maybe somebody would reach out to let me know who I can voice my concerns to my ward. Because let's see, third week in a row, my alderman's not here, guys. I've even called the city hall. I've even called a council member and left a message. 3 days later, still no call. So, I mean, can we have at least some transparency here to where us second ward citizens and voters can know who to voice the concerns to? And guess what? We already knew. You guys cut the feed again.
Thank you. Anyone else?
It's not no glitch. They only do it for public speaking.
Ma'am, please. Thank you.
Diane Salmon, 8th Ward. Thank you, Alderman Lee, for always being transparent. I hope the next mayor and the next corporate council will be kinder to you than what these guys have been. I understand the rules state that you guys are not allowed to respond to people when they speak, but I hope that at least every single one of you are listening to what we're saying to you and that you're truly taking it to heart. 1 month ago today, the voices of Brandon, Ryan, and Daniel were silenced forever when they lost their lives in this senseless tragedy. We are now their voices, and we will not be ignored. We will not be silent until justice is served for every single one of them, their families, and every other family that was impacted on this day. People have been asking why God made this happen, but God did not do this. He is grieved by this. The greed of man is what causes tragedy. The selfishness of man causes tragedy. The rich people of this city have been allowed to just skate by with the people turning a blind eye to the illegal things that have been going on at the expense of the elderly, the disabled, and the less fortunate. They have bullied them into believing they have no one to turn to because the help for them has not been happening. They reach out to their landlords, the inspectors, the council members, except for Alderman Lee because she's been fantastic, and the mayor, and they get no response. They can't afford to go anywhere else, and no one is helping them. It becomes a vicious cycle and is very disheartening. Have you guys ever lost anything and had to completely rebuild? Because I have. I had to start from the bottom and rebuild, and you can't just do it on a paycheck, and you can't just do it on the so-called $6,000 because that doesn't do a dang thing. You have to have first and last month's rent. You have to have all of your utilities. You have to have food, and with inflation being through the roof, it's even worse. Every single one of these people deserve justice, and not just them, but all the businesses that have been around them deserve to have justice as well. We are not going to be silent. That is not a threat. That's a promise. That's a guarantee that we have the backs of all the people that have gone through this tragedy, and we are just going to keep showing up. You can just guarantee it. And thank you again, Alderman Lee. I'm sorry they are so cruel to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Yes, my name is LaShawna Dixon. 4th week in a row, I mean, we're not really going anywhere. If I'm not here, that means I'm at work. So just want that to be noted.
Ma'am, do you have an address or?
Oh, yeah. I live in Tim Kelly's ward,
Thank you.
5th ward, that hasn't changed. I just want to bring to your attention that the $6,000 grant, or I'm sorry, I may be wrong, but you have to have a certain income base. There is a young lady with a 1-year-old child sleeping in a car because she does not meet the income requirement that is thrown out there. So here we go, I don't know who has children. I personally don't have children, but I have 9 godchildren. She is in a car with a 1-year-old baby. It is hot. We have smoke in the city. And this is something that needs to be, and God knows where everybody else is. But this is a woman with a child in a car. We need immediate help for these people. They need permanent housing and permanent solutions. So I hope that you hear me out in getting these people some real help and getting homes. We have talked about all the money that the city of Davenport has went through with flooding and lost insurance lawsuits, settlements. That type of money that we had to put out then, that is the money like we should be putting out now to make sure these people have homes. This is an infant that has no home. Have it in your heart to find a solution today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, Mayor and City Council. It's been a while since I've been up here. There's some people up here that I have never met before. There are those of you that I have. I must say something because I've been here throughout many different councils that have been here in the city of Davenport. I've lived in each of the 8 wards that we have in the city of Davenport. I have a pretty good knowledge of the city. I've lived in buildings owned by slumlords. I'm going to say something about this public with business percent time being publicly viewed. I hate to point out a fact, but that used to never be viewed publicly because it was never recorded for public viewing. It's just something that was added on by the council as something for us to be able to say something if we're going to say something constructive, not as a tax. Just thought I'd make that point. This is an opportunity for us to bring viable suggestions and business to the council at this time. I think what would be a beneficial thing here is if the mayor and city council in an executive session can come up with a ad hoc committee built primarily of those that are contractors in the area, people that have done, repair on buildings and stuff like that, that would come up with a comprehensive plan as to how to go about holding nuisance property owners, accountable on a regular basis. Because when I was a tenant in many of the different wards in Davenport, the landlords that I've lived under, their buildings should never have passed inspection. When you can see the outside from your wall, when buildings look like they're ready to collapse on you, they should not pass. Those type of property owners are nuisance property owners and should not be allowed to own property in the city. I know that the city council had condemned a property that was up on 35th. I used to live in those apartments when they were kept up, but when they got switched over to who owned them after the people that I rented from, they went down really quick in, the ability for people to live in. And several of the tenants were put in a bad spot because the owner of the property filed bankruptcy and had the tenants still paying them rent. So when the tenants had to actually move out, they had no electricity, no heat. So they were in the middle of winter time with no electricity and no heat at that time and had to find somewhere to move, no way of covering a deposit. And those type of property owners should be forced to have to do something. I think the city council can do something, but we need to be positive when we talk to the council. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Bill Handel. I'm a resident of Nashville, Tennessee. I also own a house in Davenport and am here when I can. Just wanted to talk about something that isn't necessarily at all in your purview, but I was heartened about the positive response to historic preservation with today's vote. But it's regarding something you all know, but which is the proposed demolition of Monroe School and Washington School, two of the, I think it was 7 or 8 elementary schools that Davenport Schools built in 1940, all of which are now standing, and which the city has, the school district has done really a great job of maintaining, and they've used them up to just a few days ago when they closed Washington and Monroe. I was at the board meeting the other night where they had the final unanimous vote to demolish those buildings. And what I saw was a question that was asked of one of their physical plant people: what would it cost to bring one of those buildings up to the type of code that we would need to use it for schools? The answer was maybe $9 million. And the second, someone asked another question: have there been any credible offers to purchase either building? And the answer was no. But now these are the same kind of answers and questions that I'd heard in Rock Island about the demolition of their courthouse and Audubon School, which was an equally good school that was demolished about 5 or 8 years ago. But anyway, it seems to me buildings of this quality have our Monroe School. It's the heart of the West End, I think. It's one of the finest buildings in this city. It's a modernist building. There aren't very many of them. And if the school district, I guess, from what I understand from someone else, really has taken no serious action to get that building historically nominated or architecturally nominated so that it could be used for tax credits for an adaptive reuse. And I'm just asking, because that type of thing is, having buildings like that are the kind of thing people look for in a city that they want to live in. And so I'm just throwing out ideas. Perhaps someone in the city could work with the school district at this point before they issue it for bids to say, we'd like to take over some aspect of that school for a amount of time to
Thank you, sir.
give it those credits so that it perhaps could be used for
Thank you.
adaptive reuse. Thanks for your time.
Anyone else?
Apartments would be a great idea for those buildings.
Hello, my name is LaConna Dixon. Unfortunately, I'm a member of the 5th Ward. I wanted to come up here and speak about safe and affordable housing for everyone. I just want to point this out. I agree with what everybody says before me, but we have a serious problem. I had attended a meeting, 3rd Ward meeting, 2 weeks ago, and it made us very visual about the homeless in the area, the homeless that are sleeping on park benches outside when we were outside watching this building come down. And I asked, well, what are you guys doing for the homeless people that are downtown? I received the answer that you can go anywhere in the United States and you're gonna see a homeless person sleeping on a bench or under a bridge. That is not okay. We are Davenport, we're supposed to be proud, and as sure as all you are sitting here, I bet you'll say that you're proud too. But what we're not proud about is seeing homeless people laying outside on park benches. And she also said that we have outlets like Salvation Army and Christian Care across the street for those people to go to. But I called Christian Care for a man, and they said they didn't have a bed for him. And so he'll have to sleep outside that night because they don't have a place for him. Salvation Army only takes families, and each place has an excuse. So now that I've done the footwork and tried to call homeless shelters for these people to go, now we know that there is a direct problem. We have a problem with homeless in our city, and there's not enough resources for people. And there's people that actually have low-income homes, and they're having problems too keeping up. I mean, and then we have people who, or, just all around. Just think about the whole thing around. People have problems, and I know you guys probably seen these people sleeping on the streets, and everyone's turning a blind eye. Not everybody, because I know community members have tried to help too. Because your community is actually helping people. We have shared GoFundMe, gave money, not only just the homeless, but the people from across the way. So we're not coming up here saying to y'all, hey, y'all guys aren't doing nothing. Well, it feels like y'all not doing nothing, but the help that you guys have gave them is not help enough. So I just urge you guys, late at night, if you can, I don't know if you're too busy getting your beauty sleep, but if you can, go out here and look at these park benches. Look at the people sleeping outside underneath these bridges. Nobody should have to do that. We're supposed to be Davenport strong, Davenport happy, Davenport pride, and I don't see pride in that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Look.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Ewell, 6th Ward, Davenport, Iowa. I reside with my wife, Justine Ewell, and 2 children. I am a concerned resident, husband, and father, and certified real estate appraiser who took an oath to protect the public trust. I have a personal statement as well as a demand letter from my attorney, Allison Kane, to present to council. Would you please give that to Brian? I'd like to thank you for your time. It's a hard time for our community. But thank you for your public service. To all of you, I trust that we can move forward in a way that just protects the public trust going forward. I'd like to thank you again.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Spiegel, is there anything else this evening? A motion to adjourn? Second. Motion and second. All in favor to adjourn? Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned. Have a good weekend. Thank you for coming.